Hello, Commanders. I am extremely excited to be sharing about today's topic, which is working on purpose. If you have been following this channel for a while, you know that one of my missions is to teach people how to live and work on purpose. So, the purpose of today is for us to simply go over an introduction of what it truly means to work on purpose. Okay. If this is your first time watching or seeing me, my name is Hennifer Bianca Gant, and I'm your purpose strategist. I believe that everybody has the capacity and the potential to move beyond idea to implementation, to execution. And I believe that the best of us, it's not that we're lazy, it's not that we can't do things, because if God has put something in us, it means that we can do it. However, the best of us need accountability. The best of us still need strategy. And when we have that strategy, it takes sometimes another person to pull it out so we can move to the finish land. Really, I called it the finish line, but I'm now calling it the finish land. All right. So I am a nationally recognized speaker and trainer, and I've empowered thousands of people already to live and work on purpose through different organizations and just individuals, just in different capacities. I believe that many of the world's issues stem from people working outside of their God-given calling. And I am on a mission to change that. I have 3 purpose-driven companies that the Lord has allowed me to lead. One is Career Image Solutions. Some of you may already be following that organization, but we specialize in all things career solutions, HR, and workforce development. In addition to that, I lead an organization called Kingdom HR, where I specialize in coaching and training for faith-centered HR professionals. Essentially, I teach HR professionals how to turn their skills into a profitable business. And then I have Be Encouraged, which has stemmed out of obedience, where I am speaking and I write inspirational books. I have 2 books already out, and just teaching on intentional living, again, living and working on purpose. So my message really is just simple, is that when people are working on purpose, that they will transform the world around them, and people will go right back to the source. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're really just going to touch on a snippet of what working on purpose is. But if you attend or plan to participate in our future teachings, this is what you can expect to be covered in the full curriculum, where we'll be going over dimensions of work, strategy on how to work on purpose, building the work plan to ensure that you're keeping yourself accountable and or being part of a community that helps to keep you accountable. But today we're going to talk about the overview. We're going to talk about what is the difference between job versus work. Okay, so again, you want to stay tuned. And if you're not taking notes, I want to encourage you to do so. Take some notes. Because there's going to be, again, even on just touching on just a snippet, I believe that something is going to be shared today that's going to impact the rest of your life. All right. All right. So one of the things about working on purpose is that work is just one component. And again, in a moment, we're going to break down job versus work. But many folks believe that their work is, they make their work or their job an idol many times, and they make it the all end all be all. And I get it, right? Because most of our lives are spent working, right? We spend more time working with our coworkers than we do with our families. When you look at the span of time over our course, most of us spend more time at work or doing work. But I want to encourage us to think beyond that today, because how we do one area impacts the other area. Have you ever had an argument at home? And although you're able to go into your job environment and kind of turn it off, some of you might be able to turn it off, but it's still resonating in the back of your mind, right? Because we are one person. So I want to introduce to us this life box, life wheel, so to speak, okay? And I just wanted to really highlight that although we're just talking about work today, work encompasses every area of your life. What you do for work impacts every area of your life. And I'm hoping that your spiritual life is something that is important to you. But if you're married, that's just an example. Your personal development, what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're learning, your relationships, who you have as your associates and who you have as your friends, right? Or who you're entertaining, your self-care. If you're always tired, not being rejuvenated, that impacts your work, your soul, and your character development. I believe that it is very different from your personal development. Your soul and your character development has to deal with your integrity, right? And who you really are, not just what you've read. Your community and ministry work. So again, these are just some examples. And some other examples are if you have children, right? Your finances, your health. There's so many different areas. But again, I really want you to be cognizant that although we might just be focusing on one area, you really have to make sure that other areas are also being focused. One of the things I like to do when working with clients, especially when we're talking about their work or their life, is that I would have them rate these specific areas that are important to them regarding how well they believe they are fully stewarding those areas. For example, if someone is married, I would ask them to rate how they are stewarding their marriage on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being I'm stewarding it really well, 1 being that I'm not. So if you would like to, feel free to do that. Take your own personal inventory to rate these areas. Now, what I normally do with my clients thereafter is that those areas that need attention, we try to narrow down at least the top 3 to begin focusing on some of those things at first. Doesn't mean that we won't talk about every area, but we try to hit those areas that have the biggest need first. There's a concept called Eat That Frog. There's a book title by Brian Tracy, meaning you just tackle the biggest thing first. So we usually take that approach. So again, if that's something that you would like to do, go ahead and do that. It's a game changer. It's a game changer. So that way you'll know, where do I need the most work? What do I need to work on first? So again, when we talk about working on purpose, all of these other areas impact your work. Jeremiah 1:5 says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. That is just opening up so much revelation for me right now. But before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. And again, this is Jeremiah 1:5, the New King James Version. And one of the things that blesses me real good about this one verse, I mean, if you continue just to read the whole of Jeremiah, it is going to bless you and to see God's heart for his people. But it lets me know that even before I began to recognize who I was, God already knew who I was. And before I was born, that he already set me apart, that he already knew the type of role that I would be playing. He ordained Jeremiah a prophet to the nations before he was born. So how much more you? What is God saying about you? Okay, so think about that with your work, that the work that you're called to do has already been set aside, has already been known by God. So it's up to us to fully function. But first, we have to settle with the mindset about our work versus our job. Miles Monroe says, your job is what they pay you to do, and your work is what you were born to do. Now, some people get a privilege to be able to intertwine both. That the work, that the thing that they feel like they're really supposed to be doing, that they're calling, not a job title, that they're able to blend that with what they actually get paid to do. There are some people that get to do that. And I do believe that there's some strategies, depending on what it is, we could definitely do that, right? However, we really want to separate this a little bit more because not all of us are able to blend the two. Okay. And it's also important for us to know that even if our job doesn't allow us to do the work, we can still show up in our work. And it's going to make sense in just a moment. So here's some definitions, or let's break down job versus work. Okay. So your job is a role or position. Here it is, that you are hired to do. Okay. Meaning there's usually expiration dates. Okay. And your work is your God-given assignment or calling. Now, here's another little caveat. Your work may transform, it may evolve. Okay. So whether you have the full picture or just a picture right now, it's about the obedience of fulfilling the God-given assignment. Whether he gave you an assignment for the year or he said that this is going to be the assignment for your life. Don't get too stuck into, I don't know what my life's calling is. That's all right. What is the God-given assignment right now? That is your work. Okay. Here's something else about job versus work. Your job, the source comes from an employer, again, because you're hired. Now, we know that when it comes to your work, it comes from within, it's given by God. Again, you are called, okay? When it comes to your job, the focus is task, responsibilities, and income, okay? Right now, when I'm recording this, there's a lot happening in the United States with furloughs and layoffs, things of that nature. Okay, so it's the focus is income. Oh my gosh, the world is ending because my job is taken away. Whereas with your work, it's purpose, it's about impact, it's about alignment. That is the focus. It's like no matter what is coming in, I know that this is the work that I'm called to do. When it comes to your job, the duration is usually temporary or seasonal. Again, it typically has an expiration date. And as I mentioned before, the duration with your work is usually lifelong. In fact, it just evolves. It doesn't really stop. It just evolves, right? The motivation with your job is usually paycheck or promotion. When you start seeing other people around you getting elevated, you start feeling some type of way, right? Because sometimes that might be your motivation. Whereas your work, your motivation is fulfillment. Your motivation is obedience. It's like, no matter what it is, I just want to obey. When it comes to your job, and we talk about control, okay, you have little control, right? Because your job can be taken away or it can be changed by someone else. Someone else can take that job title away from you, okay? But when it comes to your work, it cannot be taken away. It is who you are. Even if somebody got rid of that job title, you are still called to the work, okay? So if you are an accountant at your job, if you are called to teach people about kingdom finances, come on. It doesn't matter if you're no longer an accountant. In fact, you can be working as a cashier. You can be working as a mechanic and still be teaching people about kingdom finances because that is your work. When it comes to your job, the feeling, it can be draining, it can be routine. And there's some of us that love our job. And within one of my companies, Career Image Solutions, we're actually interviewing people right now who love their job. So go on over to that platform. You can find it on Career Image Solutions if you are just looking for inspiration about your job. But when it comes to your work, the feeling that you get is usually life-giving. It's energizing, and or it just, you feel fulfilled. There's fulfillment involved, right? And then with your job, the measurement of success, it usually comes with what? Performance reviews, salary increases, right? And then with your work, transformation is what you are measuring. The obedience, your eternal impact is what is measured. We know that we can't take all of these things to heaven with us. When we die, none of those things matter. What matters is what impact were we able to leave. Our salary increases won't matter. The performance reviews that we stressed about won't matter. So I'm hoping that you're beginning to get a realization on the differences between your job versus your work. So when we are working on purpose, it means that everything in that column is what we are pursuing. It doesn't mean that it's perfection, but it means that your ultimate pursuit is to ensure that the work that you've been called to do, the assignment of God over your life, is being intentionally pursued. One of the quotes that the Lord gave me in secret years ago is that once you know who you are, then you know what you want, then you will know what to do. And it has to be in that order. You see, we have to sit still long enough, not just with ourselves, but with our Father, to begin to ask questions about who we really are. Because if we're not careful, then we will begin wanting what other people have instead of wanting what is aligned and assigned to who we are. Because what we see on social media or what we've seen in our generations before us, we begin to say, I want a big house with a white picket fence. And it's like, who gave you that idea? Is that in alignment to who you are? So again, knowing who you are is super important when you're working on purpose. Knowing what you want is super important when you're working on purpose. And then you will know what to do because you're getting all of it from the source anyway. Because you cannot know your purpose apart from the one who created it. Now, here are some guiding questions that you can begin to ask yourself, especially if you truly want to work on purpose. You can ask yourself, what should I be doing with my life right now? Who am I called to? Where am I supposed to impact? I'll never forget when I got the word about where I'm supposed to live. I went to so many other places and finally it settled, like, I need you here. That was a game changer. So when people gave me opportunities to go other places, I knew that I could not want to live anywhere else because I'm called to a certain area at this particular time. You understand? When should I start? Timing is very important. And sometimes we're going to get that messed up, but let's stay in the Father's face. He wants to speak to you. He wants you to work on purpose. He wants you to be fulfilled. And then, of course, why am I here? And again, these are just, I promise you, this is just an intro, but these are just specific little things that you could begin to ask. And again, if you are interested in the full curriculum, the full course, when we go live and or the self-paced module, feel free to reach out to us and we will be sure to give you access to those particular trainings. So again, working on purpose is putting what you believe in motion. It's about intentionally pursuing your God-given assignments. I hope that you were blessed today. I hope that you were equipped, empowered, and encouraged to live and work on purpose. With that being said, until next time, everybody, don't forget to command your day.